In this topic, we're going to cover decorators. Python decorators allow you to modify the behavior of a function without modifying the function. This is useful, for example, if you want to add logging or verify permissions or perform some other generic check before calling a function. To create a decorator function, we need an outer function that takes a function as an argument. Then we also need an inner function that wraps around the decorated function. We've already talked about functions and inner functions in the Python 101 for Hackers course, so let's get started. Let's first import some modules that we'll need to demonstrate this. So from datetime, import datetime, and let's also just import time as well and save this. Decorators underscore demo.py and save it. Python decorators demo.py. Now let's start by setting up a simple logging decorator. So let's define it and call it logger. Give it a function as an argument. Define a wrapper. And now in the wrapper, we can do something before the function. So we could, for example, print out some delimiter here. And we might want to say execution started. We'll say when it started, datetime.today.strftime. And we'll specify the format of the time that we want to print. Year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds. And then we can call the actual function that we passed in. And then we can print out when the execution has finished. So we'll copy and paste execution started, execution completed, and we'll print it out in the same format. So now we can print out the time that it was executed. And we'll add another delimiter here. And then we return the wrapper, return that inner function. And now that we have the decorator defined, we can also use it. And the way that we do that is we want to attach it to a function by placing the name of the decorator directly above the function we want to use it on, prefixed with an @ symbol. So prefix an @ symbol, logger, because that's the name of our decorator based on this function name. Now we can have this demo function. We might want to print out executing task. So this function will be doing something. You sleep for 3 seconds. So simulate execution, and then we can print out task completed. And now we can call this demo function. And we can save this and execute it. And we can see the execution using this logger decorator. So we've come up here and we've printed out our 50 dashes. We've also printed out execution starting and printing the time that we started. Then we execute the actual function, which just sleeps for 3 seconds. And we can see that difference in the output, executing task, task completed. And then we finalize from within the wrapper, execution completed. And we also print out this delimiter here as well. And using @logger here is just Python syntactic sugar. We could also just call the function with the other function as a parameter as well. So we could have just said logger demo function like this. We can execute this. And here we can see the first execution using the syntactic sugar. And here we can see the second execution using this other format as well. And this syntactic sugar just makes it easier for us to add these generic decorator functions to other functions within our program. And I'm just going to comment this out here so we don't sleep for 6 seconds every time we run this. And decorators can also have arguments passed to them. And again, we spoke about args already in the Python 101 for Hackers course. So let's just jump straight in and create a decorator function with arguments. The function as an input, define our wrapper, and let's copy and paste here again, similar setup as before. However, this time, when we call the function, we also want to pass in the arguments when it's executed, like this. Then we want to return the wrapper again. And now we can call demo function args1. Define our demo function args. We'll pass in the sleep time as an argument. And again, print out executing task. And then we sleep for sleep time number of seconds. And then we print out task complete. Let's first execute this without using a decorator. And again, this time sleeping for 2 seconds. And that took about 3 seconds to execute, but we can verify that by adding at logger args as a decorator for this function and executing it again. And now we can see this more verbose output, and we can see that indeed we slept for 1 second based on the time difference. Here we slept for 2 seconds based on the time difference, and we can verify this again, sleeping for 3 seconds. And as expected, we can see with the decorator that we slept for 3 seconds here. And it's also possible to nest and reuse decorators in functions and classes, depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve. So for example, you could have multiple decorators that wrap one function, because decorators are basically just a way to create reusable functions that can wrap around another function without actually having to change it. And that's what we saw here as well. And this can be really useful for hacking scripts too. So for example, we could use a decorator to slow down a brute force script, or to verify if a token is still active or valid when performing some automated attack. But that's it for now. And in the next lesson, we're going to talk about generators.